Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever thought about keeping a diary? Not of feelings, but like every single dinner party you've ever hosted.
Who was there, what they ate.
Exactly, where they sat, what they drank, even the memorable, maybe kind of dramatic things said.
Yeah.
Well, our source material today, Life is Meals, it sort of comes from that exact idea, and it reveals some incredible stories, like the time a house fire actually broke out during a meal,
Yep.
right in the middle of some intense
It's a
conversation.
perfect way to start, isn't it? It just immediately shows you meals aren't just, fuel. They're these anchors for memory. They're social events, sometimes, yeah, high drama,
Totally. They're woven right into our personal history.
profoundly.
Absolutely. So, welcome to this deep dive. We're exploring a really unique collection of writings here. Life is Meals.
It's a mix, isn't it? Part personal reflection, part history.
Yeah, anecdotes, practical tips, just pure passion, all about food and dining. It feels less like a straight up book and more like a curated conversation about why meals matter so much.
And our goal here, really tailored for you listening as we kind of walk through these pages together, is to go beyond just reading it. We want to pull out the most interesting bits, the surprising connections, the really relevant ideas about the deep role food plays.
In our lives, our history, our relationships, definitely.
Yeah, we're here to find those aha moments, the ones hiding in the text you've given us.
Okay, so let's jump right into the core idea, the
Yeah.
big one that drives this whole source. It basically says, look, life is many things, experiences, emotions, achievements, but among the very best of them, it is meals.
Right. And it's not just a casual thought. It's put forward as like a fundamental truth.
Yeah.
The source makes a really strong case for this. It argues meals aren't just biological needs. They are, in a way, everything.
More vital than sex, it says, in their recurrence. They define the rhythm of life.
Absolutely. Both for us as individuals and, looking back historically, for society itself.
I mean, think about that. The source suggests meals are the actual basis of civilizations, shaping society, planting cities.
Forming politics, yeah.
Yeah.
Lying at the root of prosperity or even, well, war.
Wow.
And it's not just the physical or political side. The material really highlights this deep historical link between food and the spiritual.
Right, like ancient sacrifices, blessing the fields.
To religious rituals we still see, like the Eucharist, traditional feasts. Food is just constantly tangled up with belief and community.
Medicine, too.
Mm.
For centuries, it says medicine was basically built on dietary rules.
But maybe the most important part, the real heart of it, is the social core. The source really emphasizes how our biggest relationships, they're celebrated, they're forged, they're nourished by sharing food.
Yeah, even marking major life events like death, it points out. We gather, we serve food and drink. It's this constant, essential thread connecting us all.
So moving from that kind of grand philosophical view, the source brings us right down to something super personal and tangible.
Yeah.
That practice of keeping a detailed dinner book.
Ah, yes, the old brown notebook we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It started out so simply, didn't it? Just a practical thing. Don't serve the same dish twice to the same people too close together.
Exactly. But then it became so much more.
Yeah, it grew into this, well, accidental archive.
That's a great way to put it. A record not just of the food, but who was there, where they sat, what was drunk, and crucially, those memorable things that were said.
Conversations, stories.
Things that would otherwise just vanish, fleeting moments.
Like the house fire. Seriously, without that specific entry tied to that specific meal, that, well, pretty wild memory might just fade away.
It's a powerful point. Meals aren't just about eating. They're scenes in the play of our lives, anchors for memory.
Yeah. And this connects really nicely to that idea the source brings up about first tastes.
Oh, this is fascinating.
Isn't it how certain, like, really early food experiences become totally indelible, unforgettable?
The source gives examples, right?
Yeah.
Like the first taste of baklava overlooking the agency.
Or prosciutto and melon at some fancy restaurant before your first Broadway show.
Or those first peach bellinis in Venice.
Right. And the point is, it's not just about the taste itself, good as it might be.
No, the source is clear. These memories get locked in, transformed by the place, the company you were with, your age, where you were in life at that moment.
That first sensory hit is just fixed, often way more vividly than other memories from the same period.
It really underscores how deep food runs in our personal story, our identity.
So true. Okay, so the source also takes us on this amazing kind of whirlwind tour through food history. revealing origins of stuff we just take for granted.
It really does. It shows how our dining habits, our ingredients, they've evolved right alongside us. Take the olive, for instance.
Ah, yeah.
The source tells that Greek legend, Athena winning Athens by offering the olive tree peace and prosperity over Poseidon's saltwater spring.
A good choice.
Definitely. And olives, they've been a staple for millennia. Simple distinction. Green or unripe, black or ripe. Basic but fundamental.
And we meet these historical food figures, too, like
Right.
Archistratus, the ancient Greek guy.
Who basically said, get the best ingredients and don't mess them up. Prepare them simply.
Sounds like good advice even now. And Lucullus, the Roman general, bringing cherries back to Rome.
Roman dining sounds like quite the production. Changing clothes, changing shoes, music.
Communal broths where people just reached in with their fingers.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Spoons came later for the upper classes.
Mm-hmm.
But the fork, that took ages to catch on in Europe.
Especially in England, right? The source mentions it was seen as, like, effeminate.
Yeah. Thomas Coryat, this Englishman, supposedly had to go to Italy to even start using one. Wrote about how Italians couldn't stand fingers touching food.
It's wild to think something so basic faced resistance.
And moving forward, the source mentions other shifts, like women being largely separate at meals until about 500 years ago.
And even then, early etiquette books had specific advice for how they should behave at the table.
And inventions. Dennis Papp in 17th century invents the pressure cooker.
He saw it for kitchens, right, but it went industrial first.
It's exactly. Before its time-saving benefits made it big in homes, especially during wartime. Fascinating journey.
It really is, and the journey of drinks we know so well now. Coffee coming from Turkey to France.
And Madame de Sévigné predicting the French would never like it. Wrong call there.
Hilarious. And Balzac apparently drinking tons of it while writing, though maybe don't try that at home.
Probably not. And tea, of course. After water, arguably the most popular drink globally.
Deep roots in China, Zen ceremonies, hospitality in the Middle East, even ancient mentions of health benefits. It's huge.
Chocolate's story is also a journey. From Columbus being unimpressed to its slow change from a bitter royal drink to the solid bars we know today, mostly in the 19th century.
And the source points out even cookbooks had to evolve. Early ones were super vague, right? Just assumed you knew stuff.
Totally. You needed intuition. It wasn't until people like Isabella Beeton in, 1863?
Yes, specifying amounts.
Yeah.
And Fanny Farmer, the mother of the level measure.
Right, that standardization made cooking way more accessible for everyone.
And then the source introduces us to these, like, iconic culinary figures who really shaped modern cooking.
Brillat Savarin, late 18th, early 19th century, The Physiology of Taste. Such a unique mix of philosophy and food.
And that famous line, animals feed, man eats, only a man of wit knows how to dine.
Perfect. Then there's Alexandre Dumas, the novelist.
He wrote a massive food dictionary, too.
They like
The life.
Yeah, apparently went off to Normandy with his cook. The source describes him as having immense energy, huge self-esteem.
And the giants of French cuisine, Karim.
The master chef worked for royalty, Talleyrand, George V, the Tsar, known for these incredibly elaborate creations.
But the source says his work basically burnt him out by 50.
Sadly, yes. Intense dedication. And then Escoffier.
Simplifying menus, organizing the kitchen brigade system.
Exactly. And creating those famous dishes named after people, like Peach Melba for Nellie Melba.
It's amazing. These figures, these historical shifts, they show food isn't static at all. It's always changing with culture, tech, human ideas.
Definitely. But the source also gets really specific, diving into the stories behind dishes we might actually order today.
Oh yeah, like the Caesar salad.
The source points to Cesar Cardini, his restaurant in Tijuana, 1924. Supposedly just threw together leftovers late one night.
An accidental icon. That's brilliant.
And the Bloody Mary. Probably Harry's New York bar in Paris, early 1920s.
Just tomato juice and vodka. Simple but inspired. The name's origin is still debated, though.
Right. And vichyssoise is the cold leek and potato soup.
Julia Child apparently dismissed it as American.
Yeah, the source notes that even though it's clearly related to simple French working-class soups, shows how origins can get fuzzy or contested.
And bechamel sauce, named for a finance guy in Louis XIV's court.
Even though, as the source points out, similar white sauces definitely existed before him, sometimes names just stick for, well, other reasons.
Like status, maybe.
Could be. And the modern pizza, the margherita.
Created for Italian royalty, right. King Umberto II and Queen Margherita in Naples, 1889.
And deliberately using red, white, and green ingredients, tomato, mozzarella, basil for the Italian flag.
See, these stories show how even seemingly simple dishes can have these really specific, often quite recent origins tied to people and places. It's fascinating.
So moving beyond the finished dishes, the source also gives us these cool insights into specific ingredients themselves.
Yeah, like caviar. It talks about its rarity, the price, how Russian quality historically
And
dominated.
how it became this huge status symbol.
And aged beef, it explains the process, right? Aging for up to 3 weeks for tenderness and flavor.
Distinguishing between dry aging, the traditional way, and the more common vacuum bag method used now,
Butter gets a mention too, how it's made. Regional types like Normandy butter.
and its historical uses, even medicinal ones, plus cooking techniques like clarified butter.
Maple syrup, it makes that crucial distinction between the real stuff and the fake corn syrup versions.
Yeah, and details the actual process, tapping the trees, boiling down the sap. It notes the trees have to be mature, and the yield isn't actually that high, it's labor-intensive.
Honey traced back like 7,500 years in Egypt.
Incredible. The source notes it's simpler sugars than processed sugar, and shares that, quote, linking it to the long lives of ancient Britons.
Eggs are called almost nutritionally perfect, focusing on the standard chicken egg, its shell strength, how to store them.
And a quick nod to the whole cholesterol debate history and how thinking has become more nuanced recently.
Lemons vital for vitamin C.
Mm.
Thinking about scurvy on those long sea voyages.
Yeah, a devastating disease for centuries, all from lacking that one key ingredient.
Dates from the Middle East called the tree of life. Good nutrition.
And that amazing fact that date palms often need humans to help with pollination.
Olive oil classification gets cleared up too. First pressed extra virgin is the top grade made without chemicals.
Distinguishing it from the lesser grades like pure or light.
And potatoes. Their journey from South America to Europe.
Including that initial suspicion they faced, took royal endorsements, like from Frederick the Great, to get them accepted.
And then they became critically important, especially somewhere like Ireland.
Mushrooms are covered how cultivation makes them available year-round now. Mentions specific types like porcini, truffles,
Ah, yes, truffles. The source talks about these underground fungi, their legendary aphrodisiac reputation.
and highlights the famous types from France and Italy,
Yeah.
stressing how rare and delicate they are.
It's so clear from all these examples, every single ingredient has a story, doesn't it? Tied to geography, history, belief.
Human ingenuity, too, absolutely.
Okay, so beyond the food itself, the source really digs into the human element of dining. Service, hosting, being a guest. What makes a good experience from that angle?
Well, it gets quite specific about what makes a good waiter. Knowing the menu cold, remembering specials, even regulars.
Being able to suggest things gracefully, wine pairings, moving well through the room.
And having that genuine eagerness to please. There's that great quote from Joel Robuchon included.
Oh yeah, he expected his staff to be attentive and smiling as if they were having good friends over.
Exactly. But the source also shares a bit of a pet peeve, waiters introducing themselves by name.
Right, suggesting it often feels forced, maybe overly familiar.
Yeah, like a corporate mandate gone wrong.
And for hosting, it uses that Horace quote, comparing a host dealing with issues to a general, adversity reveals his genius.
Yeah. And it tackles special diets pretty directly, basically saying, you're not running a restaurant. Special requests shouldn't derail the whole thing. Maybe a bit blunt.
Maybe. And there's that whole section on hostess gifts, especially wine, how it can be awkward.
Right. If you bring wine, does the host feel obligated to open your bottle, even if it doesn't match? Flowers need fussing with right away.
And it mentions the European view that bringing wine can sometimes seem like you don't trust the host's choice. Interesting cultural difference.
Definitely. And the authors share their own, maybe quite particular, tips for giving a dinner party.
Getting guests involved in the kitchen with appetizers, starting cold, one main hot dish.
Resting the meat properly, salad after the main course, finishing with a cold dessert. It's their formula for the rhythm of a good meal.
Choosing the right guests is stress too, right? Crucial, with nods to philosophers like Epicurus and Montaigne who valued conversation above all.
Yeah, and there's that funny anecdote about the film producer at the Savoy, stuck next to someone stunning who just ignored him all meal. Shows the unpredictability of the human element.
The source even touches on historical dress codes at the table. Roman robes and shoes.
More recent stuff, too, like wearing hats in France or whether you keep hands visible or in your lap, different customs in England versus France.
And it briefly gets into the science of taste itself. The taste buds, where they are.
How different areas register flavors, sweet at the tip, bitter at the back. How appreciation for spicy or sour is learned. Taste fading with age.
And the massive role of smell, like how bland food tastes when you have a cold.
Totally critical. All these layers add so much to just, you know, eating. It's social, historical, sensory.
Which leads us naturally to dining out, which the source also covers.
Yeah, finding and judging restaurants.
Yeah,
The Michelin Guide gets a big mention, its importance, the pressure of the stars,
that link, maybe true, maybe not, to chef suicides.
and the practical info beyond just ratings maps, local details, when places are closed, still valuable.
There's that cool historical scale from 1925 for Paris restaurants. Categories like perfection, the last word, charming.
And then the author's own, maybe slightly controversial list of places not to eat, based on specific red flags they look for.
Like glass tabletops, waiters saying their names.
Coffee offered with the menu, foiled baked potatoes, clearing plates too soon, specific things they see as signs of maybe prioritizing the wrong things.
Form over substance, maybe? Or just misunderstanding service.
And the source really brings us alive with specific restaurant stories. A memorable Berlin dinner, feeling the city's history.
That unbelievable menu from Voisin during the Siege of Paris zoo animals.
Extreme dining, for sure. And then descriptions of beloved, simpler spots. Lunch in Saint-Malo near Florence, a Tokyo soba place.
Highlighting why they were memorable, the atmosphere, the view, just simple, authentic perfection.
It even touches on the business side briefly. How crucial wine sales are for restaurant profits, often more than the food.
Interesting. And scattered through all this are mentions of specific dishes, often simple ones done perfectly. Gratin dauphinoise, pineapple sorbet.
Spaghetti alla carbonara, guacamole, vichyssoise, rosti, panettone. Even an anecdote about spaghetti and meatballs being notable mostly for the price at one place.
So looking back at everything we've talked about, the philosophy, the history, the personal memories, the social stuff, restaurants, well, what's the big takeaway here? It's clearly more than just a collection of food facts.
I think it's a profound argument that knowing about food and dining really matters. Like that Samuel Johnson quote, "He who does not mind his belly will hardly mind anything else."
Right.
Food isn't presented as some separate thing. It's fundamentally woven into history, culture, memory, every important relationship we have. It's central.
It really reinforces that idea that our meals aren't just these fleeting moments of consumption. They are, like the source says so beautifully, an archive, stories otherwise forgotten.
Yeah. Every meal adds another page to the story of our lives.
It really makes you pause and think about your own experiences, doesn't it? What parts of this deep dive really struck a chord with you? What surprising fact did you pick up?
And maybe, how might this change the way you look at your next meal? Who you share it with, what you notice about the place, or even just appreciating the history packed into the ingredients on your plate.
This deep dive into life is meals has definitely shown us that looking at the world through food gives you this amazing shortcut to understanding history, culture, memory, human connection, all of it.
It's a powerful reminder that dining is just a central, vital, and endlessly fascinating part of being human.
And as the source brings us right back to that defining idea,
Among the best things in life,
it is meals.
something truly worth savoring and thinking about.